Captain Ibrahim Traoré's security has significantly improved following a major diplomatic breakthrough with Venezuela. During a high-profile meeting in Moscow with Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro, a pledge was made that could alter the security dynamics in Burkina Faso. In a strong show of South-South solidarity, President Maduro committed to sending Venezuelan troops to Burkina Faso to support the country's ongoing battle against terrorism and foreign-backed destabilization efforts. In a powerful display of South-South solidarity, Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso met with Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro during a high-level diplomatic gathering in Russia. This unexpected but symbolic meeting marked a deepening of global alliances among nations resisting Western dominance. Far from the traditional centers of power, these two revolutionary leaders came together not just to discuss bilateral cooperation, but to forge a new path of mutual support and strategic unity between Africa and Latin America. In a world shifting toward multipolarity, their encounter in Moscow signals a bold commitment to independence, anti-imperialism, and a shared vision of liberation. President Maduro stated that it was an honor to welcome a leader like Captain Traoré, a man he described as a symbol of courage, resistance, and hope for the African continent. Maduro emphasized Venezuela's admiration for Burkina Faso's historic and ongoing struggle for liberation, justice, and independence. He noted that the fight waged by Captain Traoré today echoes the legacy of Thomas Sankara, whose ideals of self-reliance and anti-colonialism continue to inspire freedom movements worldwide. The talks went beyond formal diplomatic pleasantries. The two leaders dove deep into discussions around bilateral cooperation in energy, military training, agriculture, and infrastructure. More importantly, they acknowledged their shared stance on global geopolitics, both countries rejecting Western hegemony and advocating for a multipolar world order. Traoré reiterated Burkina Faso's commitment to forging a new path independent of Western neocolonial influence, noting the recent decision to expel French military forces from Burkina soil and cut diplomatic and military ties with former colonial powers. In a show of concrete solidarity, President Maduro pledged to send Venezuelan troops and strategic advisors to support Burkina Faso's ongoing battle against terrorism in the Sahel. Venezuela's offer of military cooperation was not just symbolic. It marked a pivotal shift in global alliances, showing that African nations no longer stand alone in their fight for sovereignty. Maduro emphasized that Venezuela sees Burkina Faso not just as a partner, but as a brother nation fighting on a parallel front against the same global forces of exploitation and coercion. Traoré, in turn, shared his vision for a new Burkina Faso, one built on unity, industrial development, agricultural revival, and military self-sufficiency. He outlined current efforts to fortify national security and rebuild rural infrastructure, while investing heavily in youth empowerment and education. He made it clear that this development would no longer come at the price of surrendering national dignity or resources to foreign corporations or NGOs. Another key supporter in this shift is Russia. Russian President Vladimir Putin has extended both military and development assistance to Burkina Faso. Moscow is reportedly providing advanced equipment, counter-terrorism training, and logistical support, helping Traoré strengthen his position against armed insurgencies destabilizing the region. Russian engineers and agricultural experts have also begun working on projects in Burkina Faso, further diversifying the country's international partnerships. Since taking power in September 2022, Captain Ibrahim Traoré has survived numerous coup attempts, reflecting deep tensions within Burkina Faso's military and political elite. These plots have involved senior officers, intelligence operatives, and even high-level civilians, many of whom either oppose Traoré's break from Western influence or fear the sweeping reforms he has introduced. One of the earliest threats reportedly involved Traoré's predecessor, Paul Henri Sandaogo Damiba, the very man Traoré ousted in the September 2022 coup. Though Damiba publicly accepted his removal, intelligence sources and government-aligned media later suggested that he and his loyalists attempted to regroup and launch a counter-coup just days after his ouster. Traoré's forces were placed on high alert, and security was tightened in Ouagadougou. The alleged plan involved coordinating with loyal elements still embedded in the military and using political channels to rally support from foreign allies uncomfortable with Traoré's anti-Western stance. While the plot never materialized fully, it contributed to rising paranoia within the junta and intensified internal purges. Later, in December 2022, another coup attempt was exposed involving Lieutenant Colonel Emmanuel Zangrana and a group of civilians. They were accused of plotting to destabilize government institutions and were promptly arrested. The regime presented this as evidence of a larger, coordinated effort to sabotage the transition process. On 26 September 2023, Burkina Faso was again shaken by a major attempted coup involving high-ranking officers. These included Abdul Aziz Aouba, commander of the Special Forces, Lieutenant Colonel Boubacar Keita, Lieutenant Colonel Sheikh Hamza Ouattara, and Captain Christophe Maga. Their plan was reportedly to seize key state facilities and remove Traoré by force. The government quickly moved to neutralize the threat, and several officers were arrested, though some, like ex-intelligence chief Sékou Ouedraogo, went into hiding. In January 2024, another serious threat emerged. Lieutenant Colonel Everard Sumdo, former head of the National Gendarmerie, was arrested alongside civilians including Prosper Basile, a close advisor to powerful businessman Mahamadou Bonkangu. Intelligence reports claimed that explosives were to be planted within the presidential residence to assassinate Traoré. The discovery of this plan led to a wave of arrests and further solidified the captain's resolve to tighten control over the security sector. Beyond internal threats, tensions with Côte d'Ivoire have escalated. Ouagadougou has accused Ivorian-based dissidents, such as former Minister Alpha Barry, of coordinating destabilization plots. In return, Abidjan has alleged that Burkina Faso is training armed Ivorian youth for operations aimed at undermining its own stability. To counter these growing threats, Traoré has turned eastward. Russia has ramped up its military backing, deploying security and intelligence personnel to bolster Burkina Faso's defense. Moscow's support also includes development cooperation, offering Traoré both strategic depth and a buffer against Western pressure. In the face of mounting internal and external opposition, Traoré's survival is a testament to his growing influence, but also a sign of the high-stakes battle being waged over the future of Burkina Faso and the wider Sahel region. Venezuela's pledge to deploy troops has given Traoré a crucial layer of protection amid ongoing threats of coup attempts and foreign interference. Maduro reportedly expressed admiration for Traoré's leadership and his defiance against neocolonial influence, affirming that the people of Venezuela stand shoulder to shoulder with Burkina Faso in its struggle for sovereignty. For Traoré, this new alliance comes at a critical time. Since assuming power, he has faced multiple assassination and coup plots, many of which are believed to have links to foreign actors unhappy with his decision to expel French troops, cut ties with Western powers, and align more closely with anti-imperialist states like Russia and North Korea. With Venezuela's military backing now in place, the Burkinabe president can count on a more secure domestic front, while continuing his ambitious efforts to rebuild the nation from the ground up. This alliance also adds a new layer to the international chessboard, where Burkina Faso is emerging as a key node in the rising coalition of nations rejecting the old, Western-led global order. With both Russia and Venezuela now offering military and developmental support, Traoré's government appears increasingly insulated from traditional threats and emboldened to pursue its path of full sovereignty, economic independence, and territorial stability. As a result, Captain Traoré's position has never been stronger. Backed by powerful allies and embraced by a growing number of African citizens who see him as a symbol of resistance, he is now better protected, politically, militarily, and ideologically, than at any point since taking office. Together, Traoré and Maduro spoke of building a stronger alliance not just between their two countries, but between Africa and South America at large. They envisioned a global South that collaborates across oceans, through shared technology, education, and defense. Free from the dictates of Western powers and global financial institutions like the IMF and World Bank. They agreed that solidarity among oppressed nations was no longer an ideological dream, but a geopolitical necessity. In this historic meeting, Burkina Faso and Venezuela laid the groundwork for a new kind of global diplomacy, one rooted in mutual respect, shared struggle, and a collective future. It was more than a diplomatic visit. It was a declaration that a new world is possible, and it is already being built by nations brave enough to break free from old chains. Tell us what you think in the comments section below. If you find this video informative, do well to like and subscribe for more.